very briefly, our panel members. Then they will each have an opportunity to let you know what their business is about for 8 or 10 minutes. And then we'll spend the rest of the time with questions and answers. So our first panelist, closest to me, is Warren Brander. So Warren has a passion for health and wellness and a particular interest in plant medicine. He's been involved in the development and sale of natural health products for over 10 years. He's a graduate of the International College of Traditional Chinese Medicine in Victoria, and his company is DermaWise, which accesses the knowledge of Oriental medicine, cosmetic science, and plant medicine treatment principles, so offering a unique and balanced approach to healing by treating the supporting structures of the skin, and he will certainly tell you more about that. Currently, DermaWise distributes its DermaWise line throughout North America, and it can be found in major pharmacy retailers in Canada. Next to Warren is Yves, as has been said, who requires no introduction, but we'll get a small one here. So he was a pioneer in the food industry who developed the first veggie dog over 25 years ago. And he continues to bring innovation to the meats category with the introduction of Gardein in the fall of 2009, organic ancient grains and vegetables. Gardein is capitalizing on the environmentally conscious consumer wanting healthy, nutritious, and convenient food. The products have received many accolades and can be found in many retailers. Our last speaker is, panel member is Maheb Nathoo, and he is a CEO of Earth's Own, which he started in 1997. He started his career at, dare I say, PwC, coming from KPMG, where he was responsible for management and financial reporting for various public companies. He joined Dairy World in 1984 and was appointed VP of Finance in 1993. While he was at Dairy World, he identified dairy alternative opportunities, interesting thing to do, which we'll be talking more about, and was able to marry his large company expertise with smaller company niche, resulting in Earth's Own sales that now exceed $100 million, slightly not trivial. He's a recipient of the Entrepreneur of the Year Award in the Pacific region and a founding member of the National Initiative to Create Soy Foods Canada. So who would like to go first?
Maybe Maheb, please.
Maheb? All right. Oh, you're on first. Sorry, the order has already been predetermined. So, is Adam? Is Maheb first?
Whoever it was.
Okay, go ahead.
Good
You have to
afternoon.
swallow it.
Okay, I'll swallow it. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think a picture is probably worth 1,000 words from my perspective, and with that, I probably request Adam to kind of put up a couple of slides, not more than 2 slides, maybe 3, providing a quick introduction as to who we are and what we are and what we do in a sense. So from that perspective, the first slide is Earth's Own. Actually, our formation started as Soya World. That's the name, predecessor company's name. We started in 1997, and as part of change, as part of evolution, we changed from more than soy. As we changed into more than soy, our name was changed about 2 years ago, and our new name is Earth's Own. And in many ways, as we discuss, go forward, you will see that our products have evolved, things have changed, and from that perspective, maybe going to the next slide. This was sometime, approximately, this was a kind of a Profit magazine who kind of described us in a way. This was about 10 years ago when we were trying to market soy milk. And the simple line was selling the unsellable. And trying to sell the unsellable, I just want to kind of share with you what else do we sell, or what do we sell. And with that is the next slide, please. And just in a nutshell, these are product launches we have done in the last 24 months. So it's pretty much a product launch every 2 months or 3 months is the cycle at which we have been going. 3 of the products actually are evolving. In fact, the one at the bottom is the almond milk one, which I suppose is bottom 1 second from the left. Has been declared as the consumer's best new product period in a sense. So what we've really done is gone from soy milk to rice milk, evolved into dairy alternatives beyond milk itself into creamers, as well as almonds and puddings, and I suppose life goes on from that perspective. So that provides a kind of hopefully a perspective as to what we do and where we are. All started from a dairy alternative base that was on soy milk. Thank you.
Does this one work?
So they told me that I had about 8 minutes to talk about my company, and since you said I don't need an introduction, I decided to switch my presentation a little bit to say what are we doing to stay competitive in time of change. So next one, please. I thought when I saw the title that it was very interesting, so I Googled time of change, and this thing came in from François de Rochefoucauld 400 years ago. So times have changed, it's happening constantly. So no need to go there, but the interesting thing, what I want to say about this is, yes, I was there 25 years ago. Well, it took 200,000 years to reach 1.5 billion in population. And in the last 25 years, we grow by 1.5 billion in population. So things are changing. So. Obviously growth, I'd only show this slide because it was really in 1992 that I said, you know, this is great, the hot dog, the burger is a good market, but you know, what's next? And I always say, and you might have heard me say before, in order to catch the wave when you serve, you need to be a little bit ahead of the wave, and when it comes in, you have a good ride. So for me, I started looking at it in 1992, what's the next generation of product that I have to develop? And with the help of the government, IRAP, actually, we put a program and we almost spent $1 million developing the next technology. And when I sold the business with the Ain Celestial in 2003, I launched Garden Protein International. And for me, that was the next generation of product. What is Gardein? Well, we talked about it yesterday. Hopefully, those of you who were in the crowd yesterday, you had a nice free package, and you didn't go home and snack on them. It's, you know, you probably had a good dinner last night. So the growth of the protein, next one please. A little bit of Gardein. Started a company in 2003, but really I bought the technology from my previous business. And to scale up what I thought was going to be 6 months took 2 years and many million more than I thought. And the strategy originally, like, you know, I think Doug was saying, you have to learn to reinvent yourself. The strategy in the beginning was to do the Intel inside. It works for Intel, but it didn't work for Gardein. So in 2008, I decided to launch the brand, a branch, a retail brand again. And really the launch in 2009 with the whole product was really a great PR campaign to help us get a distribution. So this brings to my little presentation, how to stay competitive, and we have tons of questions after, but I have 5 minutes, I think, to say what do we do in order for us to stay competitive in the marketplace. And I think you have to be better, you have to be faster, and you have to be stronger than your competitor. So it's very much like a Chinese chess game. For those of you who play chess, it's not only one level, it's 3 different levels. So what does it mean to be better? I mean, we've talked about you have to be innovative. You have to have innovative product. I think the consumer is changing constantly. Now it's gluten-free, and it's, you know, before it was lower carb, and I think you have to adapt to the situation. Be award winner. I think it helps in a PR. It helps give credibility to the brand. And for us, our story is we introduce a lot of new product, but over the last 2 years, we are responsible for 77% of the growth in the marketplace. Robin was asking, or a gentleman was asking about slotting fee. That's always a threshold for a small company like us. How do you pay the slotting fee to the supermarket? well, we had a different story. We were able to show the retailer that, you know, we're small, we're innovative, and if they're not with us, Safeway is a chain of 1,800 stores in the US, they decided not to take our line. We went with data to tell them the year after that their category was down 12% and all their competitor was up 12%. So it didn't take too long for them to figure out, okay guys, we need you over here. Next one, please. So with that, we were able to gain major distribution. Is Julie still here? Luckily for me, she's not here because Overweedy is not on that slide. I was going to say the guy who did the slide is no longer with us anymore, but Overweedy is actually a great partner for us. They're the best partner locally. Everything what she was saying, innovative. We have the best section. They're truly entrepreneurial and they're doing a great job for us. They're the only one that brought a nutritionist and in every sales meeting that we do. So how can you be faster? We launched 8 new products last year. You know, so we do everything in-house from packaging, from picture. We have a great R&D team. We have chef, we have process engineer, and we all work together. And this is a very fast pace. You know, most of a big company, Kellogg takes 18 months to put a new product. And this is one of the advantages of being a smaller company. You're versatile, you can react very quickly. Like yesterday, some people asked me, there was a great video, we did all that in-house 2 days ago. So it was done very quickly. We had a lot of the raw material, but we put it together, and that's the ability to react very quickly. Some of the thing we're doing right now, we're launching Costco. BJ's is a chain that is 280 stores in the US, like a club business, and it was very tough for us to get in the marketplace. They came to us 3 months ago. They say, our supplier of black bean burgers, we don't like them. They give us 2 price increase. Can you do that for us? And within 3 months, we had the packaging, reverse engineering, a better product, cleaner ingredients, and we're launching with them. It's going to be about a $2 million contract under our brand. So the ability to react very quickly, I think that's what the consumer and the customer is looking right now. Stronger, well, you have to, you know, Doug says it's all about people, culture, innovation. We celebrate. We just got a big contract with Trade Joe. Everybody goes to celebrate together. And next one, please. And listening to the consumer. We use the social media a lot right now, more and more. We're doing a lot of campaign. We did a garden party tour. This is Buy Your Own Garden campaign for this summer. We're just launching a new program. You know, for those of you who have major distribution, it's very tough to know what's the price on the shelf, how much product are you out of stock, etc. There's a new thing called Wise View right now. For those of you, it's an app. And we had a problem with Target. Target has 1,200 stores. So we tell the guy we want 1,200 picture. Within 2 weeks, we're going to have the picture. It's an app you download. It's like a taxi. Somebody says, I want to bid on that. I'm going to go take a picture of 5 stores. And they send you the picture. And within 2 weeks, you have the picture of 1,200 stores, the price, your competitive price, and what's the set look like. Fantastic new tool. So we're very fortunate, I think, to use this. And loyalty card are great. Safeway is launching a program. For us, we figured that, as I told Dave, that it's costing us between $2 to $10 for every sample. Well, now it's better for us to give a free product for somebody that we know it's going to be a buy in the future. And that's why I gave you the free product yesterday. And lastly, I think, you know, it's Doug said it, it's all about people, you know, surrounding with people that believe, that don't mind being on this fast pace. And it's not for everybody, but you know, when you're growing 30–40% a year, you have to have the people that really are all on the same boat and are paddling in the same direction, and that's what makes a difference. Thank you.
I figured out very early on that I was going to be doing the micro portion of the business after these 2 companies. Last night I learned even more about them, and Maheb and Yves, and what amazing companies, innovative and very delicious products as well too. So I'm very humbled to share the stage with them for this panel. My name is Warren. So in 10 minutes or less, I'm going to give a presentation of a micro business, and I want to say some positive things about being small, about being a small business. So this is my attempt here. So I've used this picture before, and you know, we were talking about innovation. Picture makes me smile for one, but the other issue is challenging status quo, for example. So sometimes there's wisdom or things that we're told that may not be true, and this curious creator coined the phrase, it's not easy being green. Well, in fact, it is easy to be green, and I've managed to make a business out of it. Our company is called DermaWise. It's a line of over-the-counter bioactive therapeutic ointments. We have 5 categories right now for these products. We have a skin healing ointment, which would be like a polysporin type product. These are all natural, plant-based, vegan ointments. Our most glamorous and actually best-selling product is a hemorrhoid ointment. Sold in most pharmacies. We have a vaporizing rub, which would be like a fixed vapor rub. We have an acne ointment and a diaper ointment, which is our newest product. So all these products are petrochemical-free, paraben-free, things like BHT, glycols, PEGs. We don't contain any of those, so they're completely plant-based. Sorry, one sec. We are available in all major pharmacy in Canada, so Shoppers, Loblaws, all of those places carry at least one of our products. We're also in a lot of natural health food stores and online retailers as well too. Health food stores like Whole Foods and Choices are also great for us as well too. Just starting out, my background, as mentioned, is I'm a practitioner of TCM at a small clinic on the island. Started to develop natural health food products for customers, mostly in the US and some online retailers. They were encapsulated supplements. Had a great business shipping things. Had a business in Richmond, 5 to 6 employees, partners. Started to develop cosmetic science. I had a passion for cosmetic science, studied cosmetic science, became very interested in green chemistry. So that's how I got to the point of developing these products. But there were certain things about running a business that I didn't like, and thought about being a small business. You know, there's certain things that you can do to design your lifestyle. So one of these things was meetings for me were terrible. Limitations to how much you could make within a certain framework of a company. Dress code, somehow the Spanish Inquisition came up here, I'm not sure. But PowerPoints, as you can see, I put this PowerPoint together myself, and it's probably my least favorite thing to do. But things I love to do that often conflicted with work, and work often became inconvenient, is I love development. I love formulation. I loved the sensory aspect of personal care. There was a touch, a smell, a feel to it. It was really magical with raw materials. I love that part of it. I play in a band. I love to travel. This is me in the Colombian Amazon basin. I was taken in by a local family. I'm making acai berry juice there on the side of the river. I love to surf that. Wish that was me, it's not. So anything in the water, I love it. So I found that the great thing about being a small business or a micro business is you can actually design your life to do these things. And sometimes within large corporations or as an employee, maybe it's difficult. So that was one of the things, positive things I want to say about being a small business. So it really became what was important to me, or what mattered. Was it money? Was it making a huge business or power? Or was it spending time with family and friends? And I highlighted time there because it seemed like that's one of our most important resources, is having time. And to be able to enjoy your life as well too. And I found within the context of being a small micro business, nowadays we have the ability to do that. And actually, this book was really interesting, and maybe some of you are familiar with it. It had a lot of the principles in it. It's called the 4-Hour Workweek. And yeah, obviously, some of the concepts don't work, but there were some really interesting points in this, which was about designing your life, or lifestyle design was actually one of the great topics of it, which really interested me, which means, So the common questions I would get about my business were, what is the name of your company? And I'd say DermaWise, and I'd say, what DermaWise? Never heard of it. So this happened for many years. It's always very discouraging in some sense, but it's happening less and less now, which is great. The other part was, people would ask, how big is your company? And when I would say less than 5, they're almost immediately not interested in you. But indirectly, our company hires probably close to 100 people through manufacturing, through warehousing that we outsource. So that's part of the next slide, which is, one thing that was very important for our products was to be a really Canadian product. So to be made in Canada, that includes our packaging, our tubes, a large portion of the raw materials, warehousing, all of those types of things we wanted to have in Canada. And as a small business, we just focus on what we're good at, which is development, assisting marketing, and inventory management. So for all these other processes, we can outsource from manufacturing, raw materials, packaging, sales, marketing, graphic design. We're not good at those, so we outsource them as a small business. So I guess the advantages of being a very small business is that we have that flexibility to do those things. And one thing that's really important for us is the transparency in our business as well too, is that we can connect directly with the consumer. And for us, I think it's really important to say that our business couldn't have existed 10 years ago. Without things like social media. For example, our brands sit next to Fiat, Weiser, Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, those big brands. And we don't have the money to advertise on TV or magazines, but nowadays with mother blogger groups, all the social media, and some guerrilla marketing tactics, we're able to compete in pharmacy on the shelf. So, and then having that transparency about who we are, the types of products we have, what we have in our products, we can do that on a real-time basis, and some large companies can't do that. So personal attention, care, and consideration, and I put speed to market in there, but our company is really not that fast to market. We wait 4 years for an NPN number, or very slow to develop products. So, but small companies apparently are fast to market, not ours. So. So I guess really it comes down to what matters, and for us, the things like the ethics, and I think I mentioned last night in my quick video, and sorry for the quality of that video, was that one thing that really struck out to us was that it was estimated that 10 to 12% of all environmental pollution is a direct result of personal care and pharmaceutical runoff. So for us, that was a very powerful statement, and just by what we buy and as consumers, we have a lot of power, and we don't think that we do. And so by having that choice to purchase a healthier product or for our bodies and for the environment, we can make an enormous change. So that's something that we're really passionate about. And so being involved with groups like the Environmental Working Group Skin Deep program, or the Environmental Defense in Canada, to look at toxic ingredients and to change that paradigm in personal care products. So that's things that are really important to us. And so lastly, I thought this was a great quote, maybe you're familiar with it. If you think you're too small to make a difference, try sleeping in a room with a mosquito. And I think that really exemplifies some of it. Great, thank you so much.
Thanks all of you, that was very interesting information. All right, so a good segue into the whole idea of products and launching them. So I'd like to start first with Maheb and ask you, you have launched, I think you said 8 products or something in the last year. What challenges did you find in bringing those products to market in such a quick time frame?
There are usual challenges. Obviously, from our perspective, we try to think probably about 3 years ahead of time, in a sense. And obviously, we got a lot of prototypes, forward-thinking ideas, jot them down. We have new products committee or new products team. They work on some of the concepts. So in terms of the process itself, obviously, innovation pipeline is the word, in a sense. And once you have the pipeline, that allows you to kind of expedite and deliver the products on a constant basis.
Okay, so they were like 3 or 4 years in development, and then they all launched at a similar time.
I suppose it's 3 or 4 years in terms of concepts.
Okay.
And as the evolution takes place in terms of as we are getting closer to a particular timeline. For instance, classic example, we want to launch an ice cream. Sure, you want to launch an ice cream 3 years from now. But before you do that, perhaps you want to make sure that your milk is well distributed before you come out with ice cream. So this is where the pipeline and the flow of kind of a flow chart kind of makes it much more efficient to visualize it in a way.
Okay. Thank you. Yves, you mentioned as well that you had launched 8 new products last year. What kind of challenges did you face?
Well, the challenge is you can always do it in the lab. Can you do it in the production? You know, and can you do it, like as I said yesterday, in a profitable manner? It's easy to do it on a small scale. Once you do it in a bigger scale, you know, it brings much more challenge, complexity, etc. As I said earlier, Trader Joe came to us in October and said, we want to launch this product, and then they have their own requirement, and actually they help us get better. And we did a fantastic product in the lab. And we had to reinvent the way we did it in the production. My production guy was a little nervous because we were 2 weeks away from launching, and we still were tweaking the technology. But the end result of the product was better than the one. So, you know, and this kind of business is not so good for accountant, people who don't want to take any risk. You know, it's always calculated risk, but you have to be able to have a leap of faith.
Leap of faith.
Leap of faith, yeah.
Right, thank you. And Warren, I think you were too hard on yourself about being, slow to market, actually, because I think it's a different ballgame. My question for you, though, is as a small business with limited resources, how do you stay up to date with current industry information, regulatory changes, export opportunities, leading practices, things like that?
That would be BCFBA, I think. Sorry, I was going to say associations like BCFBA are great resources, or Canadian Trade Commissioners. There's a lot of regulatory, even Health Canada sends out notices all the time. So I always say surrounding yourself with good people is really important. And there's lots of associations. Well, BCFBA obviously has so many resources to be able to stay on top of those and not to always be checking different websites and different sources. So one source for all information.
Anybody else have anything to add in terms of staying current with regulations and those sorts of things? How do you do it?
Well, we have somebody specialized in regulation, and they go to seminar, and we send them to Ottawa or Guelph seminar. Guelph does, and hopefully eventually we'll have the seminar. I think more and more over here, but it's an ever-changing thing, and we have somebody who specializes in that.
I think my comment would be that some of our products are right on the border of pharmaceuticals. So essentially, we need food scientists, and food scientists become part of our team. So it doesn't matter, you might have a great marketing combined with food scientists, and of course, not to forget, as Yves was mentioning, that it's impossible to make it. So all those, that's where operational aspects come into it. I think perhaps the concept in our organization anyway, at least from my perspective, it's not necessarily that R&D is kind of vested in a specific individuals. It's really permeates right throughout the organization. It's with various people, even the finance or operations. It's kind of a combination effect rather than a single specific point of person from that perspective.
Okay, thank you. Yves, you're a medium-sized Canadian exporter. You've shown us some significant growth and opportunities in the U.S. How do you stay competitive against large international food corporations?
Well, I think that's where it goes. Like I said earlier, it's speed to market, agility. Because I was working with the Kellogg and the Kraft, and hopefully there's nobody Kraft Kellogg over here in the audience, but it's like the way they moved. It takes 18 to 20 months for them to make a decision. There's a lot of group in the meeting. It takes a long time to make a decision, and I think the agility. They have more money. When I was talking earlier, Publix is a 1,000-store chain in Florida. They always come to us and say, well, Kellogg is doing a BOGO is buy one, get one free. They're doing 5 BOGOs, so you guys are doing 2. And finally I said, well, let's stop this battle. Look at who's growing the category. So you have to use different tools, I think. And so they stopped right away and said, you're right. And so they stopped asking for money. They're looking at what we contribute, and I think you have to show what you contribute.
So that's a little bit like what Julie talked about, being innovative and coming at it a different way.
Exactly.
Her slide on the fish and the sharks and things. Okay. Anybody else have anything to add on that in terms of staying competitive with large internationals?
Yeah, maybe I'll add
Sure.
a couple of words there. Really fundamentally, it comes down to, in my mind, point of difference. What is the point of difference that you are adding? And my sort of formula, at least in my mind, is that don't expect that point of difference to last more than 18 months, maybe 3 years. So you almost need to think, that's our sort of my perspective, what else? I think the parallel I have is in my own sort of sense. I was in the dairy business. I started with Dairyland in 1983, 84. We were a $300 million business. We started, our point of difference at that point in time was acquisition, consolidating, synergizing. We went from 300 million to 1.6 billion dollars. 5,500 employees, we brought it down to 3,500 employees. So the constant, what's the difference? And as from my perspective, this is where I had to kind of think, all right, dairy is dairy, what's the point of difference? Point of difference I suddenly realized is that dairy is a protein in a liquid form. Whoops, how can I now deliver a protein, a different protein in a liquid form? So we ended up with soy milk. That probably point of difference lasted maybe 3 years, 4 years. It come out with the grain as a point of difference from a protein point of view. Nuts as a point of difference. So it's a constant challenge. First mover advantage, as somebody mentioned in an earlier presentation, that's very key. As long as you are ahead of the curve and keep on jumping 3 years or 18 months, you are safe. But never assume that you're going to be rest forever, you're going to be safe forever. It doesn't work. In a small operations, somebody can say 100 million is big, but we are a drop in a bucket in the sea of North America. That's the way I see it. And from that perspective, the point of difference, keeping ahead, becomes absolutely crucial. Otherwise, you are not adding value for a long time. That's my sense.
I have a great quote of, I think it was one of the media mogul. He says, the world is changing very fast. Big will not beat small anymore. It will be the fast beating the slow.
Very good. True.
Just a comment, it seems like innovation is really important, and to have a new product. I know my question, I guess, is how do you stay on top of innovation? Or how do you hire those great minds, or those people thinking about the next product that you have to launch if you're always having to keep moving to stay competitive?
Well, I think that's where if you have to build a culture of innovation, and I didn't want to slam the accountant earlier because one of the best products we just launched is sliders, and he came from our accountant. He was traveling in the U.S. and he says, "Why can't we do this product?" And I said, "Well, because it's very tough to find a clean bun that is microwavable." And we finally found somebody that did it, and now we just launched this product, and it's on fire. So. You never know where it comes from.
No, it's true, isn't it? It comes from the most unlikely sources. All right, Warren, how important is it for businesses to make mistakes, learn from those mistakes, and move forward?
I think as a company, we've definitely made a lot of mistakes, and I was actually mentioning this at dinner last night. For us trying to get into pharmacy, I had no idea how to take that step, and I actually went to a company called McKesson, and they are actually one of the large pharmacy distributors, and I actually went to their logistics warehouse and said, "Will you carry my products?" And they said, "What are you doing here? You're in a totally wrong spot." It's kind enough to introduce me to a pharmacy broker who was able to help me get into pharmacy. But along the way, I think the mistakes are really important, but I also think it's really important to go back to an association like BCFPA, where hopefully you can learn from other people's mistakes and not have to do them yourself. So, but I think in all areas, whether it's development or I think mistakes are inevitable, and I think anybody that says that they're a company that doesn't make mistakes is maybe not being honest.
Anybody else have comments on making mistakes and learning from them moving forward?
I have a great story. When I launched my first company, I went to Woodward and went to the meat guy, and I said, "Well," the guy said, "Yeah, that's great. Let's put it in the meat department." And I used to go to the section and can never find a product. Well, Schneider's had an army of sales guys, and they were using our products for putting on the bottom and building their case, So, why is the product not selling? Well, because they had an army of sales guys on the road, So we quickly realized, well, maybe the meat section is not the best location for us. So we went to the produce section, and the guy said, "Yeah, welcome." You know, so you really you have to learn from your mistakes.
Success at last.
Just a general comment there. I think, I suppose in British Columbia and as food processors, my sense is we tend to be small organizations, small businesses. And what that small businesses means that we are nurturing type. We have to be nurturing. And when you are in a nurturing sort of mindset, my sense is that you're going to make mistakes. That's natural in a sense. I also believe that if you don't make any mistakes, that means you haven't maximized yourself either. That's a corollary to the whole thing there. And the other side of the business is that I think I'll probably put my finance hat on for a second. Businesses get bought and sold. Usually you talk about multiples. What is multiples? Multiples is really, if you put the money in Bank of Canada, you probably have a multiple of 50. If you buy a food business, you might have a multiple of 5. There is a risk assessment there. So to that degree, when you are in a business and there is a multiple of 5 or low multiple like that, there is inherent nature that there are going to be mistakes. That's the nature of the beast. So not to be afraid of mistakes, because that's where some of the best discoveries come out of as well.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think also with that, you have to, entrepreneurs I noticed are sometimes often a bit crazy. They do stuff, and I think that's also really important as well too, because you know, I see a lot of people that have MBAs and they just never, the analysis paralysis thing, where they analyze things. And I think if I'd known all the hurdles that I was up against before starting my business, I wouldn't have done it. So I think in that sense, just putting yourself out there and doing things, there's something to be said for being very naive, I guess, too, maybe. You know?
Or a board risk taker.
Yeah.
Okay, Maheb, I'd like to ask you a question. So you have some presence internationally. And what are your thoughts about kind of going into an international market or expanding in there?
From my perspective, I suppose the international markets, in many ways, from my perspective, I define it as U.S. and other areas. I think in the U.S., in our case, our products, for our products, there is no boundary. And I think the same as yours, there is no boundary in terms of products. Our competitors can bring products very freely, and in fact our competitor is about, we are 100 million, our competitor actually is $10 billion in sales, so that's what we are fighting against in a way. So sure, US is a good market for us, but I think we have to be perspective that our competitor is very, very large, and the market is, the border is porous. But having said that, if we have a point of difference, we are happy to do the business in the US. So there's that one side of the US side of the business, and of course then there is the flip side, is across the big pond, and we are in Hong Kong market. By the way, we are in the U.S. market as well, but our sales are more like 10%, and not a dominant market share as far as U.S. is concerned. And there's a reason for that. I'll come back to that in a second from that perspective. But talking about Hong Kong, well, there is a big pond. I don't know whether you're aware of that actually it's cheaper to ship products from Vancouver to Hong Kong than from Vancouver to Toronto. So that makes it an interesting barrier, interesting perspective. I suppose our back east really, in many ways in my mind, should be really far east as opposed to back east. So there's that side of it. And I think as we have kind of grown our organization, we have recognized the US is a very attractive market, and yes, we need to have a presence there. We also recognize Far East, I mentioned, and from an emerging countries point of view, we have recognized that the BRIC countries eventually are going to be relevant because we in North America, in Western Europe or Europe, we are in a maturing market zone. Not necessarily saying that go all out and sort of do a grand scale of things, but lay the seeds, plant the seeds, so to say. And in a similar light, we actually have a subsidiary in India as well. So small things, creating a network, one step at a time. Not necessarily saying we're going to push the button all at the same time and go all out, but opportunities sometimes lead to more opportunities, but you need to lay a groundwork for that, and that's kind of the way in which we kind of approach our business.
Okay, thank you. Yves, do you have anything that you add on international markets?
Yes, we made some mistake. You know, we were in the UK, but when the Canadian dollars went from 130 to par, it's very tough. Nobody has 30% in their back pocket that they can say, okay, we'll just reduce the cost by 30%. So we had to retrieve, and there's a famous saying that you should, before you go fight a war, internationally, you should be very strong in your backyard. And for me, the backyard, 80% of our sales is American and 20% is Canadian.
Oh, really?
It's about 10 times
The
the
market's so big,
population.
yeah.
Yeah. So for us, this is North America, and that's what we focus mostly. We were in Japan at one time, then when the milliming hit for the Chinese, the Japanese really closed their border and create much more difficult to sell there. So you have to be strong, in your backyard.
In your backyard, and then you're able to expand
Exactly.
internationally. Okay, thank you. Warren, what advice would you give to someone who, they have a great new product or idea, but they have little starting capital or experience? What should they do?
Right. I think, some of the things I was talking about is moving to market with looking at strategic partners to be able to do that. So, I think a lot of people get discouraged when they see all of the things ahead of them, whether, getting distribution or marketing or getting the word out. And I think that's one of the things that I've noticed is really a challenge, is I see so many great products that just never make it. And it always seems like there's so much focus on innovation, but, there's that barrier to getting commercialization, and it's one of the things why I'm really interested in BCFPA is to see more great innovative products be able to get to market. So I think I think events like this are so great where you have retailers and they can get to know companies and products and those types of things. So I think that nowadays with a lot of the tools that we have, small companies, small ideas, there's really a possibility to do it. And I think connecting with people that have done it in the past, there's never get discouraged, really. I think it's always opportunity.
Learning from their experience.
Absolutely,
Listening
yeah.
to other people. Thank you. Yves, you built two very successful companies over your career. Can you tell us about the key challenges that you faced as you went along that road?
There's always challenge. Business, I think a business basically is having a problem every day. And, it doesn't matter if it's trucking or, people or power or something. And I think it's very similar. I think, from my experience building the second business, it's just very similar challenges. It's about how to build a team. It's faster. It goes faster the second time, but it's as painful as the first time. And I think you kind of have a tendency to forget that. Once you reach a certain level and you start again, it's like having a second kid and you have to deal with the diaper again. You forgot the diaper the first time. And but there's, it's just faster, and it comes down to really, go through the hurdle, finding the right team. What's your strategy? And, like my second business, I didn't want to go back into retail, the pain of being in retail. And I realized, my other strategy was not working. So maybe my skill was to be in a retail business. So you really have to be flexible and adapt your strategy based on where the market is. And so.
Okay, so those are your key challenges. Thank you. So a question for all of you. How do you use social media in all its context? And I know we've heard, you each said a little bit about how you use it, but how do you use it to really market your business and take advantage of the opportunities? Want to go first, Warren?
Sure. Yeah. So for us, we learned pretty quickly that that it was moms that were actually really our target market. They were the ones that were buying our product, and we learned that. I think he's also mentioned too, like the mummy bloggers were really powerful for us, and it turns out that 2 or 3 of the very influential ones lived within a couple blocks of my home, and our kids happened to go to the same school together. Yo-Yo Mama was a good example where she did a giveaway for a product, and it was really important for us. And where they give away products, people comment on the products, and I think that sort of credibility that's not paid advertising, where it's very viral, where they can actually really talk about it. They've used it, they like it, and if they don't like it, which doesn't happen that often, but they can give really real feedback, and I think that's the kind of transparency and that I was talking about before. So the bloggers, connecting with them, I think social media, Twitter and Facebook, to a certain extent, they can help you. Pinterest is the new one that seems really interesting. Been playing with that a little bit, obviously, but yeah, I think it's about connecting with people, and those tools are there to be able to connect. But I don't think it's a complete strategy to market your business. But I think it can really help small businesses, especially like ours, and probably some of the larger ones I imagine too.
I think it helps all businesses, it's fair to say.
Yeah.
Next, Yves, would you like to share with us?
For us, it's a great tool, and first of all, we have somebody full-time doing that, and they have to be in their 20s, because they have to be young, they have to understand it's a new tool, and we had a marketing person, and she was in her 40s, and she didn't understand. Very few people, they have to almost grow with it, and it's so new, and it's changing constantly, like I talked earlier about this wise view, but we realize for us that there's a lot of information. Like right now, Safeways come up with a loyalty club that they can tell us exactly what this person is eating every day, every week, and what she's buying, and therefore we're sending an e-coupon to that person free. When she goes in the store, it pops up on her phone and it says, guess what, you have a free Guardian coupon today, and she's going to go get it for free, because we know the repeat is 40% of the chance. So those are new tool, I think, that didn't exist 2 years ago. And I think Overweight is about to start a program like that too. But there's a wildfire, Sprout Social. There's so many different programs. You have to have somebody, at least that has a strong interest. And for us, we do a lot of contests, and we're just about to enter the YouTube channel. YouTube is the second, after Google, is the second biggest search engine. And so we're going to do like just cooking instruction, just stuff that people like to watch. Because now, last weekend I said, I need to work on my golf swing. YouTube golf swing gets to fix a problem. So, and it's that's a lifetime thing. But
so it's fixed now, so you're going to get swing.
Yeah. But YouTube is becoming, I think, the next thing that. So you need to really focus on. But like I say, it's just part of the strategy.
Yes, absolutely.
But I think your dollar goes, for us, your dollar goes a lot further. We did a whole program. We spent $750,000 in Los Angeles. We had billboard, we had truck everywhere, we had things. And the most successful was Pandora. We don't have Pandora in Canada. Pandora is a radio that very much like you punch in the song that you like, and it will start giving you music for free, the style of music that you like. So you have your own selection. You can pay, but you won't have the advertising. Or it's like Sirius, but your own. And Pandora we reached like 4 million people who download went to our website. So it was very successful. So we know this is the way of future for us. So.
Great success stories. Maheb, anything to add?
Yeah, not much more to add other than just to re-emphasize that the social media and the approach is really part of an integration in a sense that you may have PR, you may have other mediums, and I don't know, I think it's still early days from a perspective to sort of assess what exactly is the return, but as it evolves, there's no question. The other thing to keep in mind is the demographics as well. I suppose in the Canadian demographics or North American demographics, I suppose the population aging and where the products are being targeted becomes relevant as well. And I'm sure that all kind of fits into how to map it out and how to sort of get the returns out of it. One sort of side note that's going through my mind is we have newsletters, and from a newsletter, e-letters, and from that perspective, it's surprising as to how much number of homes you can target. In our case, we probably have over 250,000 homes that actually subscribe to our newsletters in a sense. So that in itself becomes a powerful tool in terms of making sure that who you have, that you are able to retain. So not to forget the retention part as well.
Thank you.
Might just add that, because of that also, we have a whole panel, about 500 people, that whenever they see our product, it's free coupon, they try it and they give us feedback right away. And that's, I think, it's key. We launched a product, the sauce was too spicy, and within 2 days, the feedback was coming back. So it's much more instant to have that feedback from consumers.
Real-time focus groups.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's very good. Well, that's one job I don't have to apply for then. That's my usefulness. Of course.
I was going to say, one of the things that I was mentioning is I thought our target market was the mom, it is the mom group largely, but I also learned that there's a, and we're talking about just earlier, that a large demographic of seniors are actually buying our products as well too, and obviously we don't think of them as being internet savvy or social media, those types of things, but I think there's a very well-educated growing population out there, and I guess I was going to ask, you know, how are you looking at that market as well too? You know, and how do you target that market, or how do you approach that market?
Let's go first.
I'm learning something too.
Well, I mean, I think you're quite right in terms of, I suppose, actually I attended one of Nielsen's seminar maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I think the seniors of today is dramatically different from the seniors of what we have known of yesterday. Yesterday's seniors were a bit more sort of, how do I say, if they go to the doctors, they would probably accept what the doctor is saying, whereas the seniors of today or tomorrow actually will go into the Google, search what the problem is, and then go to the doctor and say, this is my problem, how can we solve it? It's kind of a totally different sort of approach. So quite correctly, I think not to assume that seniors of today and tomorrow, which is a bulging population, will be a bulging population as the baby boomers begin to sort of add on years. Well, you know, that not to kind of discount them as like yesterday's seniors in a sense, very important.
Not much, but we know the baby boomer, I think is going to be first baby boomer 65, I think, very soon, and they're very technology savvy. So, you know, the coupon, big thing for us, coupon, and more people who are older are looking for coupon too right now. So I don't think we know from our profile that 80% of our buyer are female, between 17 and 40. So that's really where we focus, because believe it or not, I think females still buying food that you eat at home. So that's where we focus, but we don't segregate, if you want. So.
Thank you. We have a couple of minutes left. Does anybody in the audience have any questions for our panel? Mike?
More for Yves, but it also relates a little bit to Maheb with the, if you want to call it the alternative food section. Yves, I find it a little bit challenging when you're going from a supermarket to a supermarket, Canada, East Coast, US, wherever it might be. There's no consistency in the supermarkets to find garden protein. I often find it in produce, beside meat, beside fast food, blah, blah, blah. Can you get it to the stage where it's always in the produce section for applicants and special foods?
I'll repeat the question. Let me just
Yeah,
make sure.
sure.
Sorry. So Mike's question was, in terms of consistency of shelf space, that he goes to different grocery stores in different markets and finds that each product is in a different place. So how can he consistently get it into the produce section, for example?
Well, that's one of the biggest challenges, I think. When you're, I'm not sure if you have the same challenge with the milk, but sometimes I assume either in the dairy, sometimes in the produce. You know, for example, Kroger's, it's a 1,800 or 1,700 store. They just bought Ralph in Southern California. We're in the frozen section, we're in the meat section in Ralph, we're in the health section, and the margins sometimes are different, you know. And sometimes, you know, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. And that's the big challenge with those merger that happened in the last 5-10 years. You know, they come to us sometimes to educate them, but we definitely don't control. We give them guidance, but it's one of the most frustrating things for us is that you can't find a product in the same place. You go to one state, to sometimes one store to the other one, and you can't find the product. So that, you know, as a manufacturer, you don't have a lot of power. You know, we're renting space really in the supermarket, and if it performs, you stay in. If you don't, you're out. You know, so it's as simple as that.
Maheb, anything to add?
Sure. I mean, I think it's an interesting problem, Mike, in a sense that in our case, we were very successful in creating subspace or separate space for our dairy alternative products. So if you go to the supermarkets now, in relation to 10 years ago, you will find our products anywhere between 4 feet to 16 feet space on the most premium part of the supermarkets. So that's great news. However, there is a downside. I mean, obviously, we try to do what we try to do is to sort of, so the consumers can specifically go to a destination and find the products. But you know what? The end result is, yes, that 20% household that we successfully managed to get, they know precisely where our products are. Now, that 80% who's not buying, they never go there. So it's good news, bad news story in a sense. So I don't know whether it's the right answer. I sense when you're starting out, it's probably better to have a specialized area. But as you evolve beyond a certain point, you know, our sense is probably an integrated sort of set might be better. But the jury is out. No easy answers.
Might have time for one more question. Anybody have one? Yes, please.
The question for you is around you talked about the inside intel sardines and the strategy, and then you went away from that. That sounds like a good strategy when you have a branded, ingredient that has great functional capabilities. Well, what was it that didn't work around that, or are you still doing it alongside your brand product?
Well, we're still doing it to a certain extent. For now, we do some co-branding with Loblaw, President's Choice. My original strategy was to work with the Kellogg and Kraft of this world, and we did that for about 2 years. But I don't know how many presentations I did with 10 and 12 people, showing them what kind of product they should launch, why, what's the strategy, ideation session, and there's a lot of CYB, CYA, whatever you want to call it, in those meetings that nobody can make a decision. And for an entrepreneur like me, it's like watching paint dry on the wall. It's like, another committee. We need to do another focus group, and and it's like one after the other one because nobody can make a decision. And that's the biggest challenge, I think. It's that, or they're going to say something, or I don't think there's a market for this. I said, well, why? Well, we've done some focus group. Well, you don't have any product. How do you do a focus? Well, we did the concept. Like Steve Jobs said, sometimes the consumer doesn't know what he wants. You have to do it, present it, and sell it. And they go, wow, I need this in my life, So that's the biggest challenge, I think. The idea was good. The execution with big company, the reason they're big is that they're risk averse and not there to make, decisions that are too fast. And so it's too bad because I thought it was a great concept.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to thank all three of you. Very, very informative answers, and really good to know more about your companies. And thank you for being with us this afternoon.
Thank you.
I think we got a couple of gifts for you guys. We got Anna Way Company.
Anna's coming. Are you going to do the kissing?
No, that's Anna's job.
No, that's for the lady.
Oh, that's for the There you go. Yeah, actually, I talked to your VP last week. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you.
Keep a shot of your like a group shot.
Group shot.
Group hug. Yeah. Group hug.
Harry used to be in the
It's okay.
All right. Now, gentlemen.
Thank you.
That's great.